Alrighty. First video started with gun safety. This is what's called a red gun. They come in different colors. It's red gun because it's red. They have blue guns. Basically, these are to teach people how to handle the gun safely. So if you have them make an error and they accidentally point it at somebody, then it's not going to matter. I won't be using this too much. I'll probably be using real guns on most of my videos, but I wanted to expose it to you in case you saw me pull it out. If I'm teaching somebody or a person, if I'm doing gun retention and where I want to hang on to the gun and I'm going to show people how to defend themselves and take a gun away, we'll use something like this. It's smooth, it doesn't have sharp edges, you're not going to get cut. So if you hear me refer to a red gun or blue gun, this is what you're going to know. Also in all my videos, this will be number 2. The first one was introduction. So I will make these and I will number them. So if you're come along late in the channel or you find one of my videos in the middle, you can always go back and watch 1, 2, 3, 4, and that way you'll learn terminology that I use. And I'll try to explain terminology when I upload the video. Always read the description, because if I left something out or I clarify something, I'll put it in the description. So always read the description on my videos. And we'll start with gun safety. First thing, gun safety, all guns are always considered loaded until you prove it's not. So are these guns loaded or unloaded? The answer should be they're loaded, because you haven't proved they're not loaded off. So if I want to lay a gun down safely to make sure that they are loaded, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the gun up, keep my finger away from the trigger. Never ever ever put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. That means you're on target, you're pointing at something, and then your finger goes from the side onto the trigger for the pull and shoot. Don't ever put your finger on the trigger. Don't ever point the gun at anything you don't want to shoot. So there's a term in law enforcement, and I don't know if the civilian community uses it or heard of it, but it's called lasering. And you don't want to laser anybody. What you want to do is imagine that wherever you point this gun, let me make sure this gun's clear, safe, so make sure it's unloaded. Dump that out. We'll go over revolver and how I unload this, how I can clear it, how I can look up the barrel and make sure there's nothing in here, how I can use the plunger to knock out the rounds to make sure the rounds come out, how to hold it. So now is this gun safe? And a revolver, it is safe because I'm looking, there's no bullets in here and the gun can't fire because the revolver is open. Until this is closed, the gun can't fire. If this is closed, then I can't tell if it's safe because I can't see these little chambers where the bullets go. So obviously if I put a bullet in here now I can see there's a bullet in there. So I want to make sure that bullet comes out, and now I know it's empty. So this gun, even though I know it's safe, I still don't want to do what I talked about earlier, is lasering. Now I happen to have I want to make sure this is clear before I do this, so I'm going to close it. There's actually a laser on this gun, and you can probably see it right here as I'm moving it around. So basically you want to always, when you handle a gun, you want to imagine that there's a laser on here and you don't want to laser anybody with it. Alright? So there's always a laser on a gun, and this gun never points at anything you don't want to destroy or hurt. Again, finger off the trigger. The gun's loaded until you prove otherwise, and it's always pointed in a safe direction. More people get shot with empty guns. I thought it was empty. Well, I thought you cleared it. The only person that clears a gun is you. Now another thing that you don't really want to do is keep loaded ammunition around guns. If you're working, cleaning, when I'm doing this training, as long as there's no bullets around, I know I have an empty gun. If I'm training students one-on-one or in a group, always keep the ammo separate from the guns. I don't want the guns and the ammo together, because then there's a chance somebody might load it. If there's no bullets there, then I know. But it still doesn't matter. Whatever precautions I take, I want to make sure this gun is empty. I want to visually, personally inspect it myself. And I don't want anybody pointing a gun at you. So anybody can stop. Anytime you're around guns, you don't ever let anybody, me or anyone else, point a gun at you, even though it's safe or it isn't safe. Unless I'm planning on shooting you, I shouldn't point a gun. Now I'm going to do some tactics later, and I'm going to show you how to sight alignment and picture, and we're going to be doing some pointings. But it's a video camera. And if you were in person, well then we'd have to do some special things to make sure the gun is safe. And we'll go over that later in the future videos. But is this gun safe right now? I'm going to separate the ammo over here, so the ammo is out of the way. I've got the gun over here. I've visually inspected. There's nothing in here. If I wanted to, I can look down the barrel. Some people will use their fingernail to reflect light and look down the barrel to see if there's anything down the barrel. And now when I lay this gun down, I want to make sure when somebody walks by, they can see that that gun's empty. So I leave this down. if this gun is clear, I don't want to lay it down with the cylinder closed, because now people can't see in and they don't know if it's loaded. So anytime you see a revolver laying on the ground and it's supposedly cleared or safe, the cylinder should be open, should be pointed downrange or in a safe direction. If there's nobody over here, we'll just pretend there's nobody to my left. So the gun's laid down, the cylinder's open, and it's pointed in a safe direction. This gun's safe and clear. So this is considered a revolver. It's a 5-shot revolver because it's got 5 bullets. If it had 6 holes, it'd be a 6-shot. If it had 9, it'd be a 9-shot. So again, this is a revolver. This was a automatic red gun. Notice the difference between a revolver and a red gun. Okay? So this gun's safe. Is this gun safe yet? I don't know. Do you know? No. First, now the difference between an automatic and a revolver is you don't just have to open the cylinder. I have to remove the magazine. So I hit the magazine release, magazine pops out. There's bullets in the magazine. I want to set that off to the side. Now, there still may be a round in the chamber, so this gun still isn't clear even though I removed the magazine. So what I want to do is I want to lock this to the rear. A round's going to come out because there was one in the chamber, because all my guns are always loaded, hot, and ready to shoot. So I'm going to set this round over here. And now, is this gun safe? I haven't visually checked. When you clear a gun, you want to always look down, especially on automatic. You visually check these cylinders to make sure there's no bullets. Since an automatic, semi-automatic doesn't have cylinders, we're going to visually check right down the barrel of that gun, and we're going to look and make sure there's not a round. This is one with no round in the barrel. If I put a round in the barrel, you should be able to see that there's a round in the barrel. Again, visually check. I want to take that round out, make sure there's no round. I want to be able, some people will stick their finger in and actually feel that there's no round in there. Sticking your finger in here can be a hazard, because if this slides forward, when your finger's in there, could be problems. Your finger's in there and it gets snapped. So, now, so there's no magazine. We visually checked the barrel. I physically checked the barrel. I'm going to point the gun in a safe direction and lay the gun down. This gun has to be laid up so somebody can see in the hole. See, if I lay it down like this on the ground, you can't see in. If I lay it like this, now you can see. And anybody walking by, people should be able to walk by and visually themselves look at a gun and tell that it's unloaded. When this gun is laid down like this, because it's open, I can look down the barrel and see it. I can look in these things over here, or the cylinder, and I can see there's no bullets. Now I know these two guns are safe. Remember, all guns are considered loaded. When I was in the military, I had a guy go home and leave one time, bought him a new gun, was showing his mom, walked in the house, said, "Look, Mom." She goes, "Oh, I don't like guns. They hurt people, you know, might be loaded." "No, it's not loaded. Look." He points at his head, pulls the trigger, and blows his head off right in front of his mom. He worked for me, and I had to write the letter, and it was one of the tougher things I did in the military, because you just don't want to write a letter about, you know, how sorry you are about your son's dying. And not to say he killed himself in front of his mom. Those are the stories that people say guns are bad. That gun wasn't bad. The guy did a foolish thing. He did something he shouldn't have done. He did something against his training. He treated a gun too lax, and it ended up costing him his life. And that's how most people get shot with unloaded guns. All guns are loaded, especially when you're cleaning, when you're handling them. You want to physically make sure. If there was someone else sitting at this table and I'm sitting here doing all this, pointing this gun at everybody, somebody ought to be saying, "Hey, don't laser," you hear that term, "don't laser me with the gun." That means don't let that barrel point anywhere across my body. If this was a person, if this little magazine right here was a person, it's not going to stand up for me. Let's say he's laying down. If I wanted to not point the gun at him, I want to go around him and not through him. Would be lasering this magazine. This is not lasering him. And later on we'll get into movements about how to move your gun, not point it at your own foot, not point at the guy next to you, etc. We'll get into more tactics on that. But I want to do a quick basic, how to clear a gun, how to make sure when somebody hands you a gun, if I was going to hand you a gun, always hand a person an unloaded gun. I show it's clear, I self-inspect that it's clear, I give it to them, and I let them know that it's clear. That's how you handle guns safely. Always treat them as loaded until you prove, and even if you prove they're unloaded, you still don't want to laser or point that barrel at anything, and your finger ain't got no business on the trigger unless you've got to point it in a safe direction. We'll go over trigger pull and some other things on that. Get that started. That's going to be video number 1. Hope you enjoy the videos. Feel comfortable with guns. Don't worry about getting lost. Don't worry about me talking fast. We'll go from there. Hope that helps.